Fire Facilities manufactures steel live fire training towers, customized to meet your training needs. Check us out at FDIC or learn more at firefacilities.com.
In firefighting and public safety, reliability is key. For over 20 years, the Fire Store has equipped first responders with trusted gear featuring brands like MSA Cairns for helmets and Seek for thermal imaging cameras. Stay prepared. Visit thefirestore.com today.
The opinions, viewpoints, and advice shared in this podcast are solely those of the host, Dave McGlynn, and should not be interpreted as reflecting or endorsed by the Department of the Army or the Department of Defense Fire and Emergency Services.
All right. Welcome to another Fire Engineering Podcast, The Training Officer. I'm your host, Dave McGlynn. Typically with the theme of the show around this time every year since our great leader has taken over, I try to interview Chief David Rhodes, who's the editor-in-chief and is the head facilitator for the FDIC. We like to talk about some training stuff. One of the things that's always intrigued me about Chief Rhodes was he literally has a training background. He's very passionate about training. He spent years doing the hot stuff. So I always try to get him on the show, and I feel like what better time than right before FDIC so we can talk about all the awesome stuff that's coming up at FDIC. So without further ado, Chief Rhodes, thank you so much for joining me and being on the show tonight. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave. Good to see you as always. And I got the toothpicks in my eyes, keeping them open.
Yeah, I was going to say
midnight oil, getting it ready.
You've been busy the past week, just getting everything in line.
Yeah, we did a little walkthrough trip up to Indy to finalize, take a look at a couple spots where we were going to do some training around Lucas Oil and the Indiana Convention Center. Met with a lot of the local officials and local Indy and some of the township guys on a few of the sites, and then met with our whole command team, and we got everything pretty squared away. There's always some loose ends to tie up, but it's just a tremendous effort by the whole local area fire departments to support what we do, and the city. I mean, they really roll out the red carpet for us, and that's why we've been so successful. And we think we're signed for another 8 or 9 years there. So
that's awesome.
Back home in Indiana. Right.
That's awesome. Before we get into the whole meat and potato of the training aspect of it, it's just for the listener and the viewer, it's a beautiful thing that we average this 36,000 people, right? But they don't realize the behind the scenes of it, like the stuff that you're doing, the stuff that, the rest of the team that's with the brand is doing. There's a lot, like just what I teach about the ins and outs of being a training officer and being a good instructor, the facilitation and, being resourceful. That's just at a department level or at an academy level. Imagine running FDIC and having 36,000 people, you know what I mean? And vendors and egos. So my hat's off to you. I just share that because a lot of the people that are coming, listen, there's a group of people who are truly going out of their way to make sure and ensure, that we continue to not just meet your expectation, but exceed it. Because we want to be that best out there, that best ability and, syndicate that offers training and what the future is going to look like for the fire service. So, I think that I know personally how busy you guys are doing it. So I just wanted to share it. I think it's just, people don't realize how much goes into the lead off for that 1 week, Yeah. So.
Well, it's a year-round planning process. In fact, the call for presentations opens April 7th on the first day of the show.
Oh, okay.
And you've got just a short period of time, and then we are typically those go out in June to the board to evaluate, and then we pick the classes at the end of July.
Right.
And then we're off to the races. Notifications, planning, getting sites, deciding how many rooms we have, all of that stuff. And it's a year-round process for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Including
Yeah.
myself.
Logistically, it's just a lot. And I think it's very admirable because, it is just like I try to tell people regularly, if you wanted to be a training officer and you're not good at planning, it's not going to be a good job for you. So just imagine taking over what you got and having to do all that. So yeah, no, it's awesome. I wanted everybody to just know how much goes into that to make sure that their experience is literally the best bang for their buck,
Yep.
So let's talk about FDIC. Obviously, right? The show's coming up. Hopefully people register. We got a lot of new things every year that we do it, especially since, you've taken over and the way we've realigned the board and the way that we communicate with the board. There's been a lot of growth, which is awesome. We've never settled for like, okay, hey, we hit our mark last year. We're the best there is. Like, we're like, okay, what can we do next? Right. And I think that's awesome. So, let's talk about that. So FDIC is one of the most anticipated training events in the fire service. So what makes it such a critical conference for training officers and instructors?
I think the biggest thing is the amount of education that is offered in one place over a 6-day period is not duplicated anywhere. And on top of that, the entire fire service industry is in one location at one time. So not only do you have the education, but you also have all of the engineers, the technicians, the salespeople for all of the services and products that we use. And everybody's in one place. So like if you go to a hot class on Monday and you use somebody's thermal imaging camera and you had some questions about it, you can go and talk to the guy that like designed it on the show floor and say, hey, I was wondering how in the world does this do this? Or have you ever thought about adding this? And there's so much innovation that takes place there on the show floor, in the classes, and then after hours, socializing out at the bars and the restaurants. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of, this whole idea for this particular piece of equipment was drawn on a napkin at the Collada or at, Kilroy's or wherever, because it was engineers, product people talking to firefighters who use the product, and tons of improvements and innovation have come out of some of the formal training stuff and then just some of the informal conversations. So it's a unique environment. You've got the emotional, the historic, the pomp and circumstance. I mean, having the bagpipes come down the street, get your blood going, and you're just excited. We try to have some really good speakers that get you pumped up, and we all know the grind of our home departments, and you go the whole year and you kind of get in a rut sometimes. And when you go to FDIC and you see how much commitment there is from these instructors and the people attending to the fire service, it sort of renews your spirit, and it's uplifting, and it gives you that booster shot you need to go back and get to the grind for the next 11 and a half months.
No, I agree with that. I just speak for my own experience. There's nothing better than that. I'm not even selling it. Like just in my new position, since I took over with the chief spot, like there's a lot of challenges. And then, on the federal side, obviously, right, there's a lot of challenges, right? That atmosphere there, it is like, so I remember years back, Duffy had posted a thing on Facebook, and he said, going to get my batteries recharged. And then when we used to always use the community page years ago, my first year teaching out there, I had written a piece on the blog network or wherever, the member of the community page. We still use it, but you know what I'm saying. And I had titled it "Rechargeable Batteries" because that's literally what it is. Like, we all go through a funk. That's the beauty of empathy, right? Is that there's 36,000 people that, while each problem may seem unique to their mission or their department or their area in the world, the common ground is that we all have a problem and we all came to this place to kind of find a way to solve that problem. But then that camaraderie of that makes you fall back in love with the thing that you've spent the past 6 months resenting, and you fall back in love with it. And I think that that's just such a beautiful thing, because there's not a lot in life, especially in career fields, where you have this one opportunity to press reset. And it's like, no, I love this still. And you go right back and tackle the world again, and just when you start to get in that rut, April's back, so right. It has that piece that makes all of us kind of like have that reset and re-fall in love with the thing that we're growing resentment for, Yep.
And I'm a big advocate for all conferences that offer training, whether it's a local, small, Fools or union conference that's doing 2 hot classes on a weekend, or it's, a week-long event somewhere that somebody's doing. And they're all great, but nothing compares to the atmosphere and the size and scope of taking over an entire urban city with not just some guys coming to get training, but the entire fire service combined, fire chiefs, officers, firefighters, volunteers, paid, truck manufacturers, hose manufacturers. And it's not one, it's all of them. They're all there. And there's nothing like it, in the US.
No, right. It is just like, it's all walks of life. It's just, I agree. It's nothing compares to it. And just for the viewer or the listener, this isn't just a sales thing to bring you there. Like, listen, I get to teach there. I'm on the board, Chief, you're in charge of everything. It gets us jacked up, and you're a busy guy that whole week, like, it's just, I say this to people because it's like, I understand, when you can feel maybe lost in your career field or lost in the fire service or whatever. Like, I'm telling you, man, like, you're going to meet so many different people, so many different walks of life. And it's just the opportunities that are there, the education, the experiences, and the friendships you make. Like, yeah, nothing compares. Like, it's just, you got to get out there, because it
sometimes
really is.
That's the only time of year you see those folks.
Right.
And so you have your FDIC friends that it's like, oh, I got to hook up with so-and-so and we got to go to, this place, or we're going to go take this class or whatever. And it's almost like a reunion of sorts.
Right. Yeah. That's a perfect word for it. It is. It's like a reunion. All right. So, we, like I said earlier, we've been striving for bigger and better things on an annual basis, which is awesome. We've been soliciting feedback and listening to the feedback, sincerely listening to the feedback of the wants and needs of the attendees and the instructors and everything like that. So every year, FDIC continues to evolve. So talking about this year coming up, what are some new additions or improvements that have been made this year to enhance the training experience?
So I guess the big news on hands-on training is we have expanded beyond Monday and Tuesday to offer some hands-on training and some hands-on hybrid workshops Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So for that attendee that can't spring the extra money for the hotel rooms on Monday or Tuesday, or can't get off work, but was planning on being there Wednesday through Friday and was like, man, I wish I could have done some hot. There's opportunities now for some hot, and it's not near the scope as the Monday, Tuesday, but we did put some options in there. We've got an urban rope rigging class that'll take part Thursday afternoon and all day Friday. some 4-hour sessions that will actually be in the superstructure of Lucas Oil Stadium. So they're doing some highline work and some other access work up there for that. And we've pulled in, some other big names. We've got Dave McGlynn coming back for his high-rise standpipe class. That'll be Thursday, two 4-hour sessions Thursday. We've got Steve Robertson and Todd Edwards doing mid-rise mayhem, which they've been doing all around the country. Not only are they teaching Monday and Tuesday with Florian on their hose class, but then they're also teaching Thursday, all day Thursday and Friday morning, doing 3 sessions of mid-rise mayhem over in Lucas Oil Stadium. And we've got the National Fire Sprinkler Association, which has put together a 4-hour class, 4 sessions Thursday and Friday. A really big need in the fire services is training firefighters in how to use the fire protection systems in these large buildings, fire pumps, fire sprinkler systems, and we're really not good at it. And so they've developed a trailer specific to train fire departments. And so that class is going to be going on. There's engines pumping lines into this trailer that simulates the fire pumps, the sprinkler systems. There's water flowing, and you can see what it takes to actually manage these big fires and these big fire protection systems. So we have that through the week. Then we have, for the second year, the drill yard in Lucas Oil Stadium, Thursday through Saturday, that has free training, that is sponsored content, whether it be thermal imaging cameras or forcible entry doors. But it's just short 30, 45-minute sessions that you actually get to put your hands on the tools. We have a 2-story digital burn building. We've got a 3-story tower with an interior stair. The International Association of Firefighters is going to be there Thursday through Saturday in the drill yard, delivering their firefighter survival skills, which is using their trailer that they've had for a couple of years. And it's the same instructors that rotate around the country. So you can just walk up and sign up for any of that type of training that you want to do, in addition to all of the other premium hands-on training, live fire stuff Monday, Tuesday, and the other in the workshops. So we've got about 250 classroom sessions. We've got 75 hot sessions, and we've got about 55 hot hybrid sessions. I mean, there's just tons and tons of content, and there's something for everybody, whether you're into fire prevention, fire investigation, industrial firefighting, or just bread and butter, search and rescue, residential fires, commercial fires, high rises. I mean, there's something for everybody. And, you really gotta come into it with a plan. If you just show up, it's a little overwhelming. It's sort of like being dropped in the middle of Washington, D.C. and saying, I'm going to go see the museums. You better have a plan.
Yeah, right. So, good luck. Yeah.
So those are improvements. We've also expanded our summits. We're continuing with our Metro Officer Summit, our GEMS EMS Summit, the ARF Summit's back for a second year. And then we have a couple of new things. We have the Tech Summit, which is all the technology type companies, innovative stuff, whether it's robotics, drones, tracking systems, fire suppression stuff for batteries. We've assembled all of them. And so that's available Wednesday for a 4-hour classroom session. And then they're going to bus the attendees out to Indy's Fire Training Center and do live demos. They're going to have live fire scenario where you've got a Rosenbauer truck electric truck arriving on the scene. guys deploying lines, a robot coming off to go do and protect exposures, a drone flying overhead, catching the backside of the building for you. You've got 3 a.m. tracking firefighters in the 7-story tower. Just that kind of stuff that you get to see it in action, so you can put some perspective to how it's working. And so we've designed a lot of scenarios out there for Wednesday. And if you note, I said Wednesday morning is classroom. Well, opening ceremonies is Wednesday morning. We have our second day of opening on Thursday morning, but McGrail will be teaching high rise at the same time. So we're trying to provide you options. So if you don't want to go to opening ceremonies and hear me speak or anybody else, you came to just do some training, then there's options for you, to do that and get involved in that. And so, all the bars have been pulled down and we're just expanding in every direction to try. And like you said earlier, Dave, is like, it's not about us creating our experience. It's about us creating the best experience for the attendee. And that's why we send out those surveys. And when, 60, 70% come on back and say more hands-on training, then we provide more hands-on training. We'd love to do Monday, Tuesday, repeat it all week. We don't have the logistics to do that right now, but we're moving in a direction to offer more of that. And there'll be even more coming for 2026.
Right. So one of the things you said that I found most interesting was options. It's not knocking anybody, because I know that you're very pro on that. We a lot of us, we teach at all these different conferences and whatever throughout the year, which is nice. But we have a ton of options. We're trying to, I don't want to say cater, that's not the right word, but we're trying to create an atmosphere where, even if it's just for that 1 week a year, the fire service, there's that like sticker that has like the jack of all trades thing. Like you've seen that before, and then I've often heard it be referred to as like a Swiss Army knife and all that. We are, no cliche. We're the world's problem solver. The public that doesn't know what we do, the expectation is just, we know it, like they just assume like, I have a problem, you must be the person that's the SME, the subject matter expert. And, contrary to popular, perception, that's not the reality. There's different walks of life, different disciplines, different skill sets, and missions. And I think one of the beautiful things that we've done, especially in my experience of just attending and instructing there, is we have offered every different type of option available for everybody that's in our thing in the fire service, Right. So if you were to come to FDIC and it's fine if you just want to go to listen to, Chief give, some rah thing on Wednesday morning. I encourage you to do it, because that Wednesday morning opening ceremony is awesome. It gets you jacked up for the week, but then attend classes. And I had a question, you've obviously been coming longer than me, and you were a hot instructor for a long time. Are these the most, I would say, hot related classes that we've ever offered at FDIC in the history of it?
When you count the hot hybrid workshops,
the stuff that's going on at Lucas and stuff.
At one time, we were up to close to 30 hot classes. Probably 10 years ago or so, we were up to close to 30 different individual classes, and that got cut back, around the COVID time, and we're back to, I think we're at 21 hot classes on Monday, Tuesday, but then we've added about 15 hybrid workshops. So yeah, when you count everything together, yes, and then it's spread out over the 5 days.
Right, and the reason why I say that is because, like you said before, logistically, like we're trying, right? So anybody that is, at the end of the day, the I stands for instructor. So we obviously want everybody to come, but most of the people that are coming are either aspiring to or already are or have been on some level an instructor. So logistically how it is to plan and finance and fund and get amenities and the resources needed, right? So it's not easy when you're running one of this level, and look at what we're doing. Look at what FDIC is bringing, because we want everybody to have all these different options. We want you to be able to walk over to Lucas and not just think, oh, isn't this cool? Peyton Manning played here, but like, holy crap. Like,
there's a whole training drill yard
right,
over there in the end
drill
zone.
yard and all the different stuff that's going on. Like, I mean, like, you know, I just, it's going to be awesome. And I just wanted people to understand, like, you've been heard loud and clear, as well as there are many folks that are behind the scenes, you know, moving and shaking to offer suggestions, and Chief and the team have really worked their way of implementing this stuff. And it's an investment on our end. And I think it's going to be a great investment. We're going to prove to everybody just how awesome this is, because we have all these different things available throughout for people to be able to see, as well as attend the workshops, attend the classrooms, because there's a lot of great nuggets and information there. But yeah, it's going to be a really cool experience, I think.
And you said, you know, we're the problem solvers, and yes, it's the fire department instructors conference, but it's morphed into the fire department everything conference. There's definitely an emphasis on education and instruction and train the trainer type stuff. But I just had to pull up the list because, you know, a fire chief or a deputy chief of operations is probably not interested in coming and taking a, you know, hydraulics class or a search class or something like that. But when we look at how we've expanded these summits and these conferences within the conferences, and I mentioned a few of them, but I pulled up the list so I wouldn't forget him. We've got Metro Officers Summit, which is geared towards the second in command, like the deputy chief level folks, to discuss issues at their level. The GEMS Innovation, which is strictly dealing with EMS providers. The Tech Summit that we mentioned. Tall Buildings is its own conference within the conference, dealing with everything high rise, from codes to fire suppression systems to firefighting tactics. Women in Fire is there again with their leadership conference, and they have their own track they have their own opening ceremonies and their own classroom sessions. We've got ARF from the ARF working group that's dealing with anything airport, and that ought to be a pretty big one this year with all that we've seen in the news lately. Another first is industrial. We have special couple of classes and a couple of meet and greet type events just for industrial firefighters this year. And then the Officers Club. This is a special place where we can connect exhibitors to the officers that are decision makers, whether it be on truck purchasing or gear purchasing or whatever. And it's not out on the show floor. It's actually in a room, you know, over breakfast or over a cocktail or what have you. So we've got all of those summits. It's like we always say in the incident command world, the incident within the incident. All of those are like mini conferences happening within, and that doesn't even include all of the meetings that are going on. And obviously you're familiar with the DOD meeting and the Army meeting. We have the Air Force officers and chiefs that do several days of continuing ed. I think they do Monday through Thursday with us. We have the North American Training Directors Association. And I mean, the list just goes on of all the activities there. So when I say the fire service coming together, it truly is. It's everybody in all of these organizations, and we're continuously adding more and encouraging more to come. Because if you're all in one location, then you're kind of saving another trip that you don't have to do a separate meeting. You can meet at our conference when everybody's already there. So it's just phenomenal to see all the, you know, if you were to draw it out on a board, I mean, it would look like a 10 wagon wheels with spokes, going in all directions. So the NFFF, with the stair climb, and then their stop, drop, rock, and roll, the Firefighter Cancer Support Network with their 5K run. I mean, it's every day, all day, and all night. It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the thing is, like, we're not even plugging stuff to plug it. Like, we're just like, I'm watching you, it's just popping in your head, like, because you're like, yeah, like, we have that. Like, even for you, the guy that's running it, it's amazing because it's everybody, every walk of life, every person that has some kind of thing that touches what we do. Like, it's really cool. I think this year is going to be one of our best yet. Like I said, like, I love the growth of just in my experience over the years, watching what we've done to where we're at. I do.
It's been cool too. My first year was 1998. I was supposed to go in 97 and I actually got sick and had to cancel. But 97, I believe, was the first year of Pinwell, when Pinwell owned it, and it was in Indy. And then 98 was, or maybe 97 was the first year of Hot, and it was Hot Tuesday, and everything was in the parking lot of the RCA Dome. And then it expanded out into what it is. So I've got to see it as an instructor in the Hot program, as a person running logistics and operations for the Hot program and coordinating, and then onto the board and picking the classes and coordinating, and then now running the whole shebang. So it's interesting to see. I think attendance around 1997, 98 was around 5,000 or 6,000. And then now we're got a good chance of busting 37,000 this year. Right.
I mean, yeah, it's just, that's
unbelievable.
It's just really cool to be able to, like, measure that and look back at it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So we covered a lot of the things that, I wanted to discuss, but I didn't know if there was any, just focusing back on Hot before we move forward, just because, I'm a fire instructor. So, like, you guys give me the opportunity to lecture, and then just because of logistics, that just works best for me. But as a fire instructor, I'm a Hot instructor. I love doing hands-on. There's nothing better. Like, you and I have talked offline many times about, live burn training and live fire training and stuff like that. I love that stuff. So that's your thing. So not that you want to be biased in your new role, or your role the past few years, but in talking about Hot, and that it draws a lot of attendees, and we're going to have a lot more available this year. What are some that you personally would recommend, or if you were, maybe not David Rhodes, the head honcho, but David Rhodes, firefighter David Rhodes, or fire instructor David Rhodes, what would you personally recommend?
It just depends on what your need is. I mean, the live fire classes are, they're like Garth Brooks tickets. They sell out as soon as we put them up, and we're only limited by the facilities and the air packs that we have. I mean, we're constantly trying to get more, and they sell out. So and I'll give you an example of one, flashover in the burn cans. That class has been running since 1998, 99. And every year we're like, well, I'm sure it's run its course and all. And it's one of the first ones to sell out every time. And so it just shows you the demand for actual real live fire training. And even, it's a bird can and it's just in and out flashover, but it's still, there's a demand for people seeing real fire. And so, but it just depends. What do you need? We've got a water rescue class, and maybe those people don't need live fire. They specialize in water rescue. And so there's just something for everybody. There's search classes. Obviously, search is near and dear to my heart. Can confidence, a new class this year from Basil Ibrahim is based off of his one bad day, deal, and he's doing an 8-hour live fire class. And I guess lucky for me, they're 98% sold out. So like you can't really recommend one to anybody because they're all sold out. What I recommend to everybody is register in October,
right,
when registration opens, so that you can get one of those classes.
Actually, let's talk about that real quick, just because to capitalize on that moment, right? So the theme of the show would be to hey, let's talk about FDIC and cheerlead why you should come. But we have a good problem on our hands, is that a lot of these classes are getting filled up, which is awesome. So just what you just said, for you that are listening or whatever, I understand how fiscal year budgets work. A lot of us understand that, which is typically October, which is why we're pretty smart in when we open registration in the early bird registration. And we have that early bird, it runs quite a while. It's like 3-4 months or whatever.
Yeah, it ran all the way up to February.
Right. So just with that, like Chief said, get in there, if you're able, and we understand, certain times and everything that goes on, but if you're able to get in there, budget for those, put a line item for those funds, or even if, you can, create a GoFundMe page, in your local community to come out to FDIC, but, try to register early, because then you can capitalize on the availability of these classes. You can lock up your spot and get in there and just take the full experience of it. But no, I agree with you. It's, as you're saying it, I'm just like sitting there. I'm like, yeah, we probably should have recorded this 3 months ago, because it's the truth. We have a good problem on our hands, it's met the demand. But just for the people that are listening, if you didn't get in one of those,
there's plenty to do. There's plenty of workshops. There's tons of 4-hour workshops that have some of the top-notch instructors. You've got Frank Lieb and Goldfeder doing a 4-hour workshop on their 30 fires you should know. You've got Castros and Brush doing the command, mastering command, and then they're doing 3 labs with that, where guys are going to go out to the command buggy and actually use tablet command and SimsU share to actually command an incident. It's kind of like being in the simulator you do in the training room or whatever, but you're going to actually be outside, with moving parts. So it's just amazing. One thing I did want to bring up about the hot that we're I kind of say put our money where our mouth is. Champo and I did a big thing on cancer last year, and getting early screening and wearing your mask and all that. And one of the logistical problems at FDIC has always been, you're stuck in a hotel room and you got your fire gear. And so you take your fire gear back to the hotel room with you, which we know is not ideal. And so we've created a couple of really strong relationships, one with the Firefighter Cancer Support Network and the other one with Redline Mobile Gear Cleaning. And we are going to offer, and this is only to the students that do live fire and that'll have contaminated gear. If you're not doing live fire, it's not an option. We're looking at some stuff maybe down the road, but we don't have the logistics and the space and the room to do it for everybody. But if your gear is contaminated from the hay smoke, the pallet smoke, whatever, we do give you a clear garbage bag to try to seal it up as best as possible. Everybody that participates in live fire will get a true gear bag this year from a vendor. And then partnering with Redline and with Firefighter Cancer Support Network, we will store your gear for you beginning Monday afternoon when you get done with hot. We'll collect it over on South Capitol Avenue in that big plaza behind the big FDIC letters. And they will take it. They will make sure they know what class you have Tuesday morning. And then they'll be there at 4:00 in the morning on Tuesday morning, organizing that gear in the staging area by class so that you can swing by, grab it, and then go to the bus staging. and then you'll go to your classes on Tuesday, and then you can bring it back and drop it off again on Tuesday night. And Redline is going to offer to store that gear for you until you leave, all the way to Saturday, if that's when you leave. They are also going to offer to clean it for you if you want that. It's all free of charge. We are asking that if anybody does participate, that they consider giving a donation to the Firefighter Cancer Support Network, even if it's $1, $5, $10, $20, just something, because they are putting some manpower in it. And then Redline is doing it as a service, as a sponsor, and they're not charging, for it. They want you to donate to the Firefighter Cancer Support Network also, and that'll help them fundraise a little bit in addition to the 5K. So this is a Herculean task. It looks like somewhere around 900 people are eligible to store their gear, and we've got about 40 people committed to just managing the logistics of that. But again, you'll have to get up and come get your gear, make sure you get it, and then if you decide you want it cleaned and you're not going to pick it up till Friday, you got to remember to go pick it up, because we're not going to ship it to you.
Right. Yeah, but good.
It'll be there for you next year.
Right. Good on you to mention that, because firefighters are firefighters and they might forget. No, that's Don't forget.
That's going to be. And if you've signed up for Live Fire, you're going to get an email with all the details on that and a little form to fill out so that we know what classes you're going to and have a plan. And if you want it cleaned or not, because they have to plan. But I think they're going to have 6 or 7 mobile cleaning trucks there that can do about 50 sets a day. And if they're running through Friday, they'll start Tuesday night and they'll run all the way through Friday night. So they should be able to get quite a bit of it clean.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's, again, just look at our evolution. We recognize
nobody else is going to take this on.
Right.
To me, it's important for a couple of reasons. One, I mean, we don't want the dirty gear in the hotel rooms for your own safety reason, for the hotel staff, for everybody.
Sure.
But the other thing is it sets the example. This is the way it should be done. And this will encourage folks to get their gear clean, when they're back at home and it gets dirty as well. Wow. If they spent that many resources and that much time, effort, and money to do that for 800 people, it must be pretty damn important. And it is.
Right. No, I totally agree. I think that's awesome that we're offering that. It removes any level of hypocrisy while we're sitting here trying to advocate for it, or you and Champ giving speeches about it, or classes that we have on it. We're like, no, listen, we're putting our money where our mouth is. Like, we want you to come to hot, and we're going to make sure that you leave, hopefully, especially if you take advantage of this resource that we're offered, deconned, because we care that much about it. So no, awesome. I love that. That's great. So let's talk about first-time attendees. We have the regulars and the frequent flyers, and that's awesome, because we appreciate it, and we keep we're doing something right if the people are willing to budget for that and set up time to be able to attend that, right? But let's say we have some first-timers. So, like, I noticed, just in social media, you were handing out a couple of the free passes.
Yep.
Right. And some of those folks, or if not all of them, have never been there, right? So what advice would you give that they can get the most of their experience while out at FDIC?
You got to do your homework. And the first thing you need to do is download the app. And it is a new app this year. So the old one, if you're first time, you wouldn't have it. But if you're a repeat, your old app, you can delete it. It's gone. And it will not update to the new platform. It's a totally different company. So download the app. It's called FDIC International, and you download it, and then there's a tool in there. It's a tool, Map Your Show. All the classrooms, all the vendors, everything is in there with their location. and you can pick your classes and it'll create your schedule for you. And you need to do that because it's overwhelming to try to get there. There is no printed show guide this year. Everything is electronic on the app. The only show guide that there is in the January issue of Fire Engineering. If you notice that there was a PPE supplement, and then you also had the FDIC show guide is actually in there printed out. There've been a few changes since then, but nothing big. But yeah, the app is the way to go. It's easy to navigate. You can look up classes by class name. You can look them up by instructor. So if you go, man, I want to take a class from Dave McGlynn, wonder what he's teaching. You can look for him, and then it'll show you when his sessions are. If you look up somebody else that's a hot instructor, it's going to show you their hot class. It'll show you their hot hybrid class if they have one later in the week. Like your Todd Edwards and Steve Robertsons, they're going to be in there multiple times, and they're doing hour 45 classrooms too. So you got a lot of chance to see the instructor that you want to see. But build a plan before you go. If you haven't been, definitely come to opening ceremonies both days if you can. This is actually the last year we'll have a opening ceremony on Thursday. We're going to cut that out for 2026 and go back to a 2-hour opening ceremony on Wednesday. And then that will allow us to add somewhere around 20 to 25 additional classroom sessions for the attendee on Thursday. And so, I just think that's important. The more classes we can do, the better it is for the attendee. And we can shove all the awards and all that into one day and get it done. I think we will get it done. Download the app and build yourself a plan. Talk to people who have gone before, and come ready. Come ready to attack the day for sure. And it's long days and long nights. So you got to train for it. You got to prepare for it.
One of the things I was going to throw out there is, we're doing the IDs for the board members. Mm-hmm. We want to try to utilize all of us as best we can. So most of us, all of us are instructors. So we're going to be busy. But for attendees, get the app, look through the app. Like Chief said, the app's going to give you notifications to build out the schedule for you. But if you see folks that have a badge or an ID that says that, they're on the advisory board or something that isn't just that they're an attendee, and even ask attendees, why not, right? What better than peer advice? But if you're looking like, hey, I've never been here, what are some recommendations that you would have? Ask people. There's going to be a ton of people between your peers and other instructors that you may or may not be familiar with. And then there's going to be board members there. Just a quick, hey, my first time here, do you have any recommendations of classes to take? Like, most of us that are on the board, we've looked through all the classes, so we know which ones are going to be good, so absolutely, like, ask somebody if you don't know, look through that app, plan out your week on that app, download the app. But on the other side, if you're lost, just ask somebody. It's like being a freshman in high school for the first time. You're like, I don't know how to get to this class. You just ask somebody. Right.
It's huge. If you're standing at registration and you have a class in Lucas Oil Stadium, it's a 20-minute walk. It can be, depending on which side of Lucas Oil it's on, but it's a long way. So you got to plan it out. You got to plan it out, and be ready to roll.
Right. No, I agree. All right. So talking about that, you got to plan it out, right? So what are some key events, speakers, or training opportunities that attendees should try to make sure they don't miss? One thing before you answer it, and you might already, but I'm just going to say because I'm biased on it. Don't miss Wednesday opening ceremonies. I love Mike Champo. He is one of my favorite people as long as I've been doing this. So this is a long time overdue. So those of you that have attended, make sure you're there. And then those of you the first time, like, listen, like, you got to be there because it's a big deal, especially a guy like that. Like, you know, the behind the scenes of that is we almost had to like pry and prod him to convince him to finally do this. So
direct order, actually.
I mean, literally. So, you know, he's an
employee. He's an employee.
Right. You had it. That's basically you had to threaten him, you know, he's that humble of a guy. So, but outside of making sure that people make sure they attend that, what are some other things that you are pretty proud of that we have coming up this year that you wanna say, hey man, check this out if you can?
Yeah, both of our keynoters, obviously Champ, long overdue, but one of the most humble and knowledgeable guys you'll ever meet. And I think it's long overdue, but it's also perfect timing. So maybe there was a reason that it's been overdue, you know, is he just retired and he's just coming off his battle and treatment with his throat cancer. I mean, he was at 9/11. I mean, the guy he pours his heart and soul into the fire service. So got to be there for that. And Thursday, Christina Moon is the widow of Billy Moon, who was a FDNY line of duty death. He fell off the truck, but he was an organ donor, donated his organs, saved 5 people's lives, 3 of which were FDNY firefighters. So you'll get to hear from her and about her foundation and what she's doing to bring organ donor awareness around. We've got the Firefighter Nation Health and Wellness area in Lucas Oil. And remember, Lucas Oil is not just exhibits that you walk through and look at booths. It's interactive. So all the stuff over there is like for you to participate in. I mean, right down to the dog park where there's a dog park with live dogs that they want you over there interacting with, but there's drones, there's virtual reality training, there's the drill yard, there's the gyms area where they're doing the clinical competition, but then there's also little labs set up where maybe you're doing intubation, bleeding control, loading somebody in and out of an ambulance or getting somebody packaged and out of a car. It's stuff that you can actually participate in. So you definitely have to check that out. And then, be sure to take advantage of, if there's anything that's specialty to you, then look on that schedule and pick it, whether it's industrial or ARF or any of those things. Like, go to those things and get that perspective. And then of course the after hours stuff is huge. The Fools Bash Wednesday night, where just all the different Fools groups comes together and they have their annual, bash there in downtown Indy. You've got the 5K over in the park, which is just absolutely beautiful. You're running along the canal that used to be the waterway that all the barges pushed product down into the city, into the businesses. And so you got the 5K there from the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. Just tons of stuff every night. Some of the vendors offer stuff like the MSA block party. And then you've got the IAFF, the local Indy chapter does a big bagpipe parade and party down on Mass Avenue later in the week. I think it's Thursday or Friday night down there. So take advantage of not only the education, but the culture and the experience while you're there. And I'll tell you, I've been going, like I said, since 98. It never fails to raise the hair on the back of my neck and just give me that big pride feeling when 20 of the bagpipers come barging in the restaurant or the bar you're in and do about a 10-minute, concert and Courtney and his group there, Wayne Township, all the back, he coordinates all that. And there's a couple of new folks. He's passing that off this year, but still playing. But they coordinate all of these bagpipe groups coming from all over the country. It might be a single piper or two drummers, but they put them all into this massed band. And obviously they play it at opening ceremonies, but you see them all night long on the streets. And so you want to be out and experience that culture for sure. And then that's where a lot of your networking and your friend building, at the end of the day, you might not have the answer to everything, but you'll be like, well, I met a guy in Indianapolis.
I know a guy.
Number. Yeah. I met this, gal that does this and is in charge of this for this company and you've just got those resources, it's awesome. You're getting me fired up. I'm ready to go. Even though I got 5 weeks worth of work to do before
I figured you'd be tapped out already, man. I appreciate you doing this with me. Because I don't know, but I just know because, I follow what's going on. I'm like, man, I'm sure he's just drained out already, And
the bookstore, you got to go to the bookstore.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I mean, the bookstore is like all of the top selling fire books. I mean, some of them go all the way back, to the John Norman Company Officer, all the way to the latest and greatest, which Champo's got a new book that'll be coming out at FDIC. It'll be his first 10 years of on fire. And you get 30 fires you should know. Dina Ali's book. I mean, we keep putting them out. I think we did 20 something books last year, maybe 28. And they're all there and you get a great discount, while you're at the show. So bring an extra suitcase so that you can, pack your books and get them home.
Yeah, I agree.
You get to meet the authors too.
You meet them, you get to talk to them a little bit. Yeah.
And that's another beautiful thing about it is you got all of these iconic folks that are in the hallways, and 99.9% of the time, unless they're having to haul butt to be at an event or whatever, they're going to stop and talk to you. And they're glad to share with you and talk to you. Bill Guston, Rick Lasky, John Salka. I mean, the list just is huge, Yeah. Another kind of new, it's UL FSRI group is going to have the 500 ballroom from, Wednesday after opening ceremonies through Thursday. Yep. Yeah. And so if you're into you want to learn about the research and stuff, it's just going to be one speaker after another going over all the latest projects in the research. Dan Majikowski and his team will be in there. And then they'll also have the UL water flow prop out in the outdoor area on South Street. And they'll be doing training out there, and Safe Fleet will be out there beside them with hose and nozzles and a pumper. And so you'll get to use hose and flow water in that prop, and they can show you the water mapping. And all of that's part of the conference. So it's available to anybody attending.
Yeah, it's gonna be epic. I'm excited about it. All right. Well, any final words from you? I mean, obviously we covered a lot on why FDIC is awesome. But anything else that you want to cover or say? Floor is yours. Final words.
Yeah, just rest up, hydrate, and wear comfortable shoes. Wear comfortable shoes because you're going to do a lot of walking. It's a good ways between ICC and Lucas Oil, and you're gonna make multiple trips. You're gonna slow down a little bit on that firefighter row as you start to head down to Lucas Oil, because you want to see all those guys and those firefighter owned companies. And every now and then they have some refreshments that are offered at certain booths that you might want to partake in. And wear some comfortable shoes and and plan your trip. Download that app and make your plan. And I can't wait to get there and see everybody.
No, I agree. It's going to be awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Chief. I'm obviously going to see you soon, but I appreciate, just on behalf of everybody else and all that, what it is that you and the team does to get this out there, to make our fire service continue to evolve. It's awesome, and I know it's very taxing on you guys, and yet every year you guys outdo yourselves. So just thank you on behalf of.
It's an honor to be able to do it, and it's definitely a blessing and an opportunity to continue to serve. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, listen, there's still time to register, so get on there and register. Download the app, FDIC International. Download the app, plan out your week, and a lot of great stuff we covered. A lot of great new things happening at FDIC this year. So we hope to see, if you're a first-time attendee, take it all in, man. Be a sponge. That's the best advice that we can give you, is be a sponge. Just soak it all in, and you'll see why everybody is trying to set their budget up to continue to come every year after, because it is that awesome of an experience. And then lastly, if you want to teach at FDIC, Firefighter Nation, fire engineering, fire apparatus, GEMS, everything, right? Start writing some articles. You can get in touch with any of us, especially me, if you're listening to my show, and we'll try to point you in the right direction and help you out. But start writing some content, start sharing your message. And then Call for Presenters comes out in April. So we hope to see you submit, because that's the only way you're going to be able to get a chance, is if you put yourself out there. And it's not the end of the world if it doesn't happen this time around. You just keep at it. Every one of us has one of those stories. So keep at it. Hope to see you there. This is Dave McGlynn with my honored guest, Chief David Rhodes. I want you guys to be safe. Fire Engineering Podcast Training Officer. Take care.
Fire Facilities manufactures steel live fire training towers, customized to meet your training needs. Check us out at FDIC or learn more at firefacilities.com.
In firefighting and public safety, reliability is key. For over 20 years, the Fire Store has equipped first responders with trusted gear featuring brands like MSA Cairns for helmets and Seek for thermal imaging cameras. Stay prepared.